Have you ever wondered what if all the conspiracy theories about the government and nature were true? This is the main concept of the animated series Inside Job. It's a science fiction sitcom created for Netflix. Today we are going to recap the series from beginning to the end. Reagan Ridley is a young, intelligent girl that works for a secret company, Cognito Inc. Its name is derived from the word incognito. Reagan is really excited to clock in today as her boss called her for a promotion. She's been working hard day and night for this moment. She gets late as she has to pick up her dad, Rand, who is always wandering on roads and telling people that the world is run by shadowy elites. People call him mad, but he is actually telling the truth. Cognito Inc. is one of such companies that run the world behind the scenes. They use shape-shifting reptiles for playing different political roles and create the weather with a high-tech machine. Reagan's father also worked here, but Reagan replaced him when he started exposing the company's secrets. After sending her dad back home, Reagan calls her team to discuss their current assignment. The president they elected is too dumb to be manipulated, so Reagan designed a robot to replace him. She is suddenly called in by CEO J.R. Shinepow, who announces her promotion but also has some bad news. A new employee named Brett Hand will accompany Reagan. Though she is a genius, Reagan doesn't have any communication or leadership skills. JR believes Brett's friendly personality is going to help Reagan, but she isn't happy about this decision at all. She stays awake all night to work on the robot president, which she named Robotus. The next day she presents it to the company, but they seem more interested in the donuts the new guy has brought. Reagan gets frustrated and makes a whole document to prove that Brett is not qualified to be in this company, but no one agrees. JR says Reagan needs a break and he sends her home. Afterwards, the company replaced the president with Robotus. Unfortunately, the robot malfunctions and orders to destroy humanity. The Cognito team expects Brett to handle the situation, but he is nothing more than a handsome face and sweet talk. He calls Reagan and they head towards White House. Brett uses his communication skills to address his team, while Reagan uses her intelligence to destroy the robot and replace it with a better one. After all the mess, Reagan and Brett have realized that they definitely need each other to complete their inside job. From the next day, they excitedly greet each other and head to their office just to find out that their team is wasting resources for fun. Reagan tries to stay calm, thinking the company has enough money to cover the loss. As she says that, JR informs them through a video message that they are having a financial crisis. He gives Reagan and Brett the task to choose an employee to fire. Brett accidentally reveals this to the team and they all start to act nicely to Reagan so she doesn't fire them. After checking all the records, Reagan finds an old employee named Grassy Knoll who was hired to assassinate America's former president, JFK. Since then, he hasn't done anything but get a salary higher than the CEO. JR approves the decision as well. Reagan tries hiding this decision from her team to keep getting the VIP treatment, but Brett reveals it. Despite Knoll being useless, he is loved by all the employees and they force Reagan to change the decision. To prove Knoll's worth, Reagan decides to free a clone of JFK and let Knoll kill him. The plan backfires when Reagan accidentally releases all the clones and they take over the company. Reagan has secretly kept Robotus in the basement and decides to take his help. He agrees as he needs Reagan to stay activated. Reagan requests her team not to tell JR about Robotus and help her take down the clones. When JR returns, the clones are already destroyed. This has decreased the expenses of the company, and JR takes back his decision of firing anyone. Later, Reagan goes back to the basement to thank Robotus and gives him a DVD of the TV series Friends, so he doesn't get bored anymore. Reagan gets back on her inventions and creates a robotic pair of arms. She shows it off to her team but gets interrupted by JR. He accidentally made a sarcastic joke about reptoids and they must fix the situation. Reptoids are shape-shifting lizards that own almost all the top authorities. Even the Queen of England and celebrities like Taylor Swift are reptiles. JR and the team need to attend the Reptoid Gala and convince them to sign the contract for funding Cognito. They all start preparing for the night, but Reagan gets nervous when she realizes that she needs to hug the Reptoids. Reagan hates physical contact. When they arrive at the gala, Reagan puts on her robotic arms so she can hug the Reptoids. Brett is responsible for giving a speech tonight, but he is tricked by her old friends and gets stuck in the vent with rats. In his place, Reagan is forced to give the speech, and surprisingly it goes smoothly. But Reagan's robotic arms malfunctions and pulls out the arms of a Reptoid. Brett rescues her from the party, but the police catch her eventually and take her to the court. Suddenly, Rand reaches there with Reagan's childhood robot toy. This makes Reagan realize that after her parents divorced, Rand never showed love to her and made a robot to give her hugs. This is why she is traumatized by hugging. Rand accepts his mistake and finally gives Reagan a hug and the case is dismissed. Reagan gives the robotic arms to the injured Reptoid, and he agrees to sign the funding contract. After getting the funds, JR announces another project. a dating app. With its help, he gets access to thousands of profiles and their personal data. Some of the app users are powerful people that can be beneficial for Cognito. JR has gathered their personal pictures and asks Reagan to sort them. She agrees, but her team starts making fun of her because she never dated anyone. Reagan takes the challenge to get a boyfriend in 2 weeks. After several failed dates, she decides to make a robot to practice dating, but realizes that the robot is the perfect match for her. Unfortunately, just like Robotus, this robot boyfriend also takes control and makes a robot of Reagan which escapes in the city. Fortunately, Reagan succeeds in defeating the robots, but she has to order the kidnapping of several innocent people so they don't reveal her secrets. Meanwhile, Brett likes spending some time in a simulator that allows him to spend some time with holograms of his family members. Reagan interrupts him because they got a new task. Cognito sells dangerous 90s products to a town called Still Valley that hasn't developed since the 1980s. To keep up their business, JR sends Reagan and her team to feed the town people with a heavy dose of Nostalgia Max. It's a drug that will alter the memory of the people and will not let them move further from the 1980s. Brett really likes the town's atmosphere and wants to stay there. While trying to do that, he accidentally takes a huge amount of Nostalgia Max and becomes really violent. After exploring the town, Reagan realizes that the family Brett created was from a 90s sitcom because he didn't like his ignorant family. Reagan feels sorry for him and tells him that he doesn't need an imaginary family as she and the team are also like his family. This touching statement brings Brett back to senses. Before leaving the town, Brett and Reagan watch a famous movie, The Goonies, and wonder how no one in the 1980s realized that the film was really problematic. Even in the current time, people still believe in weird theories like Earth is flat. JR even has a whole documentary about them, but Reagan excuses herself because she needs to make preparations for her mother's wedding. She is marrying herself. Reagan knows that it's just another way to tease Rand, so she makes sure her dad doesn't find out about it. JR offers to let the wedding be held on his yacht as he wants to use this as a chance to sell his products to rich people. However, the whole ceremony is interrupted because Rand reaches there with a group of flat earthers. Reagan tells the group that her dad is lying about being a flat earther, but the group doesn't agree to leave. Instead, they take over the yacht to travel to the edge of the world and prove that Earth is flat. Meanwhile, Reagan and her parents are held hostage by the flat earthers' leader Harold, and they travel in a smaller boat. To save them, JR orders them to open the portal to the hollow Earth, so Harold gives up on his theory. Reagan lies to Harold that the portal is the edge of the Earth, so he gets satisfied and returns to the shore. Unfortunately, Harold is passionate about his theory and jumps into the portal assuming that he will reach the other side of the Earth. Reagan feels sorry for him, but it's too late. They get back on the yacht and JR calls a kraken to destroy the boat and erase proof. However, the famous businessman Jeff Bezos also gets drowned with the boat. Later that day, Reagan gets really drunk and unintentionally spends the night with a secret agent named Rafe Masters. She regrets her deed the next morning and leaves without a notice. Her co-workers tease her with Rafe's name, but she explains that she is not actually interested in him. Unfortunately, she has to work with him to take down one of their enemies named Doc. Reagan tries to break up with Rafe, but he starts crying in public, making Reagan look like a bad person. Her team suggests that she use a company service called Ghost Protocol that will allow them to fake their death. The plan goes smoothly and Rafe accepts Reagan's fake death. But he believes that Reagan has been murdered and asks Brett's help in finding the murderer. Reagan gets to know about Rafe's plan and she asks Dr. Skullfinger for help. He tells Reagan to use the memory wiping project. Reagan sets up everything with the help of her team, but as she's about to erase Rafe's memory, she starts feeling like the bad person. Reagan gives up on shortcuts and decides to come clean to Rafe. She finally tells she doesn't like him because he is a psycho and an outdated stereotype who can't handle women. Reagan's team also supports her and she succeeds in getting rid of the lover boy. But the trauma Reagan's parents give her is never ending. To avoid her insensitive dad for a while, Reagan agrees to go on a risky mission to the moon. They get to meet an astronaut named Buzz Aldrin. He has landed on the moon with Neil Armstrong, but stayed behind while his look-alike Melvin filled his place. Buzz is still young due to slow aging that happens as a result of the moon's low gravity. An uninvited guest also reaches the moon. It's no other than Rand. He came to reveal a big secret. Reagan's mother was having an affair with Buzz, and Reagan might be his biological daughter. This causes a conflict, and Buzz tries convincing Reagan to live with him on the moon. He has created a whole well-developed colony on the moon, and Reagan can be a part of it. She doesn't fit in Earth society anyway. Meanwhile, Melvin is declared missing, and the Cognito team is trying to catch him before he reveals the secret about the fake Buzz. Rand and Brett also volunteer to help and reach the original location where the first landing on the moon was made. They discover an unbelievable fact about Neil Armstrong. He was murdered. Rand and Brett get worried for Reagan as she might be in danger. Buzz has planned to drive the moon away from Earth, which will result in the destruction of all humanity. Reagan refuses to do such a stupid thing and gets back to Rand and Brett. Together, they stop Buzz's plan by shutting down Moon's power, but Buzz escapes. Reagan and the men return to home, and Melvin is also found. Reagan still wants to clear things up with her dad and takes a DNA test. It proves that she is indeed Rand's daughter. Meanwhile, the elites called the Shadow Board meeting at a secret place to decide another member to join them. The possible candidate is JR, and after he leaves, Reagan is going to be the CEO of the company. She gets really happy and starts celebrating with her friends. But before she takes CEO position, she must complete a big mission. A mole in the company has stolen the most important file, which contains information about all the conspiracies Cognito has ever done. If Reagan doesn't get back the file in the next 10 hours, all of the Cognito employees will be sent to the Shadow Prison. X. It's the darkest and cruelest jail in the whole world. To save herself and the company, Reagan starts looking for the mole. After handing her the crucial task, JR gets ready to join the Shadow Board, but he realizes that he has to compete with other candidates in a maze. One of them is a member of the rival company Illuminati, and she blackmails JR and forces him to help her through the maze. After realizing that the culprit is really talented, Reagan begins to suspect her team members. As the time is running away, Reagan can't investigate each member separately, so she drugs them with truth-telling serum. They start telling random secrets, but none of them confesses to be the culprit. Suddenly, Rand breaks into the party as he also wanted to celebrate his daughter's success. The team members believe that Rand can be the mole who has stolen the file because he was always against the company. Reagan refuses to accept that and escapes with her father to hide in a secret lab. Rand accuses her daughter of becoming reckless like JR and suspecting her own team. The team finds them anyway and starts arguing with them. They all get quiet when they get to know that the mole is actually Reagan's childhood robot, Barrow. The robot has noticed that Reagan always stays worried and overworked due to her job. So he has stolen the file to use it to destroy Cognito Inc. and set Reagan free. The team tries to snatch the file, but it gets destroyed in this attempt. Barrow misunderstands that Reagan is hurt by her team members, so he decides to kill them. Reagan remembers that Barrow can only be shut down by a password, but unfortunately she can't recall the password. She uses a special machine to get inside her mind to find the password, and Rand joins her too while Brett guards the machine. Meanwhile, other team members get Robotus's help to stop Barrow, till Reagan comes back with the password. As they don't have much time, Brett also gets in Reagan's mind, and he eventually finds the password in a memory of prom night. The password is Oren, the name of Reagan's childhood friend, but she doesn't remember him because Rand erased a few of her childhood memories to have more control over her. He wanted her to become a genius like him so he can use the company's insurance policy by which Reagan must be employed if Rand ever gets fired. Reagan uses the password to shut down Barrow, and after that she confronts her father for destroying her childhood. He's a selfish man, and the reason for Reagan's weird personality. She feels so disappointed and angry that she kicks out Rand from her house. After a while, she gets another piece of bad news. She has been demoted from her position because of the mess she and her team crested while finding the mole. Moreover, JR has been imprisoned for life because of the several crimes he did against the Shadow Board. In his place, the most experienced employee and the biggest shareholder of the company, Rand is appointed as the new CEO. The depression has taken over Reagan's mind, and she becomes the same person her dad used to be, drinking excessively and telling company secrets to random people on the streets. Brett picks her up and takes her to the company's meeting. Rand joins in too, and gives a long list of tasks to the team. Reagan couldn't accept it, and decided to protest against Rand. She asks her team members to support her, but they are not interested. For them, working under JR or Rand is almost the same. Reagan gets more depressed and lonely, and Brett suggests that she should try a therapy session. During the session, Reagan meets several people and listens to their traumas. One of them is Ron Statler from Illuminati. His job is to erase memories and mind control people, but he is getting frustrated with this work. Instead of getting calming therapy, Reagan and Ron encourage each other to get revenge from the treatment they are getting at work. After a few days, a huge gathering of the 6 world-ruling societies occurs in a secret place. It includes the Reptoids, Cognito Inc., Illuminati, Catholic Church, Atlantians, and Juggalos. Illuminati team members make a great entry with their leader Dietrich, and makes Rand jealous. Several friendly competitions are going to be held among the leaders of each society, and Reagan plans to make her dad embarrassed in front of everyone. She is using her nanobots to control Rand's body movement. Ron is there too, and he is controlling Dietrich to make him lose. Unfortunately, they both get caught by the guards and thrown in prison. However, being geniuses, they quickly figure out a way to escape the prison. They head to witness the last friendly match among the leaders, but now Reagan and Ron don't want to mess with the useless competition anymore. They both are born genius, but have to work for stupid companies who don't appreciate their talent. Reagan realizes that she is quite similar to Ron, and they develop romantic feelings for each other. Ron takes the initiative and kisses Reagan, but they are still controlling their leaders' bodies and make them kiss each other as well. The audience gets shocked at first, but then they assume it as a peacemaking gesture between the two rival companies. Ron and Reagan prepare to get back, but they are excited about their relationship, especially while working in rival companies. Meanwhile, a prisoner escapes the Shadow Board's custody, and it's no other than Jay. Unaware of what's coming his way, Rand is busy spying on his ex-wife. She has started dating the famous actor Keanu Reeves. In jealousy, Rand also decides to become an actor, and he produces his own film. Rand takes a youth serum to become younger, but the overdose turns him into a baby. Reagan is quite supportive of her mother's new relationship and even gets invited to a movie premiere. However, she finds Keanu a little suspicious, and after following him, she witnesses him drinking human blood. She immediately tells her mother that Keanu is a vampire, and her mother confronts Keanu. He accepts the truth and also reveals that many other actors like Leonardo DiCaprio and Johnny Depp also drink blood to stay young. Keanu is willing to give up this habit for the sake of love life, but the other vampires are against this idea and try killing Keanu because he may reveal their secret. Reagan injects the vampires except Keanu with Rand's infected blood that kills all of them. However, Reagan's mother eventually breaks up with Keanu, and Rand's film also proves to be a flop. Once Reagan gets a little break from her parents' issues, her teammate MIC asks for her help. MIC is a talking mushroom-like creature who used to live under the Hollow Earth portal. He believes that he is failing his current tasks because he is depressed about the fact that his classmates are more successful than him. To help him feel better, the team members agree to pretend to be his cluster and enter the hive. Due to Mike's sarcastic nature, his co-workers leave him in the hive, but later they learn about the evil plans of the hive and bring MIC back to the company. While the team is away, Rand is trying to find who is secretly defecating on his desk. During his investigation, he gets to know about the secret cameras in his office and finds the guy behind the indecent act. It's no other than JR, who has been secretly living in the company. Instead of kicking him out, Rand welcomes him as an intern. Rand announces a new difficult task in which a team member has to travel to Rome and brainwash the leader of the Catholic Church, Pope, to design an artificial hell and pay Cognito to build it. Reagan willingly agrees to do this task as she wants to use it as an excuse to go on a date with Ron. They both travel to Rome, where Ron takes a brainwashing device and zaps Pope, but it will take at least 2 hours to work. Reagan believes that they may get late for their date, so she zaps Pope a few more times. The overdose makes Pope lose control, and he creates a realistic hell with demons to punish people. Reagan contacts her team, but they all are stuck at the airport. Reagan tells everything to Ron, who tries to reverse the effect of the brainwashing device, but he accidentally hits himself. He loses his senses and willingly lets the demons drag him to hell, as he believes that he committed many sins. Reagan regrets her mistake and sneaks into hell to tell Ron what a great guy he is. She likes him so much that she volunteered for this crazy trip just to get a chance to ask him to be her boyfriend. Her sweet words bring Ron back to senses, and he delightfully accepts Reagan as his girlfriend. They successfully remove the brainwashed effect from Pope and get ready to live a romantic life ahead. The team finally reach Rome, only to find out that they have to clear the huge mess Reagan has caused there. After they return, Brett's tragic life is revealed. He belongs to an abusive family who annually ranks their kids. Poor Brett is always placed in the last position. His brother is doing a campaign to become a senator, but he prefers to hire an actor to pretend to be Brett instead of letting the real Brett stand beside his brother. On a famous news channel, the male robot host has malfunctioned, so Brett takes his place. Due to his charming personality, he quickly wins everybody's hearts, and his family also starts liking him and fires his look-alike actor. Rand wants to take advantage of Brett's popularity and orders him to compete to become the senator. Rand actually wants to approve a law according to which the divorced couples must go on dates. In this way, he will get to date her ex-wife. Brett's family doesn't like that he is competing against his brother. Brett is really desperate to get love from his family, so he tries to get in scandals that will ruin his public image, and he loses to his brother. However, each attempt to look bad eventually ends up showing his sweet and kind side, making people fall harder for him. When his first plan fails, Brett tries the second plan and fakes his death. His supporters accuse his family of being his murderer and start abusing them. One of them shoots at Brett's brother, but Brett jumps in the way and gets shot in his arm. His family finally ranks him first, but it's nothing as compared to what Brett has done for them. Meanwhile, Rand helps Brett's look-alike actor become the senator, and he gets his weird law approved. Now he is planning his next date with his ex-wife. Reagan is also busy with her love life and can't see Ron suffering in Illuminati every day. She offers him to join Cognito and asks Brett's help to do that. After meeting Ron, Brett realizes that Ron is the first person he doesn't like. He is really shocked and asks their team's scientist Andre to help him. Andre makes a virus that will make Brett like Ron, but he accidentally spreads the virus in all of the Cognito employees except Brett. Now everyone is going crazy for Ron. Reagan tries to use Brett's DNA to make an antidote, but the plan doesn't work because Brett has started to like Ron naturally. The only option she has left with is to erase everyone's memory about Ron. Meanwhile, Rand goes on a romantic date with his ex-wife. He uses Robotus to replace him while he goes to the bathroom, but when he returns, his ex-wife has already kissed Robotus, assuming him as Rand. Rand loses his temper and exposes himself in anger. His ex-wife gets disappointed with him again, and before leaving, she advises Ron not to join Cognito ever. Rand hasn't given up yet, and he believes he can win any woman because he is the CEO of Cognito. As he says that, he receives a video call from the Shadow Board, who calls him immediately to evaluate his performance. While he is away, JR tattoos his whole body. When his co-workers ask why he did that, JR tells about the time he met Rand. They both studied in Harvard University but hated each other since the first day. However, they accepted that they both are geniuses. Together, they invented many great things, but they all failed because they were too dangerous for the world. Once they tried to invent a time machine but accidentally created a reality alternating machine called Project Reboot. There used to be 2 moons, but while doing the test run of the machine, they removed 1 moon. This discovery made them get noticed by the Shadow Board. They were chosen to build Cognito Inc., but in exchange, they had to destroy Project Reboot. However, Rand secretly hid that device. JR believes that Rand is going to use that machine to change reality and save himself from getting fired from Cognito. Therefore, JR has tattooed his body with memories. Reagan uses a more efficient say and scans memories of each member. Afterwards, they put on tinfoil hats to keep themselves safe from the machine rays. Andre is still drawing tattoos and accidentally removes his head. He disappears immediately, proving that Rand has already turned on the machine. They must find and stop him. On their way, Robotus tells Reagan that Andre has gotten in a better timeline and he is enjoying his dream life. Reagan hides this from his team members so they don't abandon the mission. However, they find the truth and each one of them chooses to move to their desired timeline. Only Brett and Reagan are left. They leave JR behind and go to where Rand is hiding. Reagan doesn't want Brett to deal with this mess, so she removes his hat. Afterwards, she goes to meet Rand, but gets surprised to see that Rand hasn't turned on the machine to save his job. He just wants to find a timeline in which he can live happily with her ex-wife and daughter. Reagan feels sorry for him and decides to help in taking a new start in the current timeline. They decide to turn off the machine, but JR interrupts them. He wants to take his revenge from Rand for always ruining his life. The fight gets interrupted when Breet reaches their incognito UFO. He had written all his memories on a poster that helped him remember everything. He has also brought other members because they all realize that they can't be satisfied with any other timeline than the current one. Reagan tells her dad to give up and let himself get arrested. He needs to repent of his mistakes before taking a new start. After JR and Rand's departure, Reagan finally becomes the official CEO of the company. She also gets a message from Ron and believes it's time to talk things out. She tells Brett to handle the company in her absence and she goes to meet Ron. He is going to take a big step and needs Reagan's help. He has decided to erase his memories and wants Reagan to remind him of only the good moments. Afterwards, they will start a new life in a faraway place. Reagan agrees and starts packing her things, but she gets a sudden call from the Shadow Board. They replay the history for her and explain how they kept balance in the world. They saved humans from stupidity and led them towards big inventions. They also planned many natural disasters to keep the population under control. And they also prevented other species from evolving and taking over the world. They have noticed great potential in Reagan and want her to join the Shadow Board. She requests some time to think as she has to give up one thing: her love or her dream job. With the help of Robotus, she goes through several timelines to find a one in which she can keep working and also continue her relationship with Ron. In most of them, they were having a toxic relationship because Reagan was too busy with work. She eventually finds a timeline which seems a little promising and makes her decision. Meanwhile, at the company, Brett is leading the team to clean up the anomalies caused by the Project Reboot. One of them is a dog that can play basketball. This can cause the evolution of dogs and they will eventually take over the world. Brett can't kill an innocent dog, so he uses her lookalike senator to make basketball illegal for dogs. However, the dog he saved is still evolved. Reagan goes to meet Ron, and he finally erases his memory. Instead of telling him about their relationship, Reagan wishes him best of luck for the future. The only timeline in which Ron was happy is the one in which he had forgotten about Reagan and started a family with another woman. Love is seeing your loved one happy. That's why Reagan made this decision. Ron is free from pain and regrets, but Reagan is always going to have all those sweet and sour memories. She goes back to the company and accepts the offer from the Shadow Board, but they are just playing tricks with Reagan so they can execute their next secret plan. As the latest season ended on a cliffhanger, we can surely look forward to another comeback of Inside Job. Stay tuned.